Soken and Ichigo! And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Bleach, episode 14. Your host Griever here, as always, review. Best episode thus far of Bleach. Do you deny me? Do you deny me this? That episode 14 is so far out of the first 14 episodes is the best episode. We got lore. We got character building. We got Orahara Kisuke. I don't really think I need to say more. We have touched upon this before, but Urahara Kisuke is the man. He's the man of Bleach. And honestly, this episode, it really did well. I took some screenshots here so I wouldn't forget certain moments, but suffice it to say, the beginning part of the episode is all about Rukia explaining to Ichigo about the history of the Quincy, but in a very kind of ad-lib short term. And I never understood this, because the Soul Reapers are right. And that's a bit of an issue here, because it's very night and day to me. Maybe you guys don't think so, but the Soul Reapers basically said, okay, we have a balance. There's black, there's white, there's this little gray area in between. And to keep the balance, and from what we know later on about the Soul King, keeping balance between everything, and that's why Kisuke wanted to stop Aizen from doing what Aizen wanted to do, was the balance needs to be kept. It's some Darksiders level shit. You need to keep the balance. Heaven, hell, human world, all gotta be, around. You can't compress it, you can't expand it, you can't quantify it. It's gotta stay the way it is. That's what it is to be balanced. The problem is Quincy want to punch, as it's shown in this weird hourglass figure, but they punch a hole in it and let it all drain out. The problem is that creates a lot of problems. And where does all this problem go? Because the difference is we've understood about the Hellverse, right? Hell exists. There's a lot of questions here, because when a Quincy kills a Hollow, does that Hollow go to hell? That's my number one question. Because they say that soul is eradicated. If it's eradicated, then I completely understand how the balance is thrown off. Because eventually, if the Quincy had their way, life wouldn't exist. Life has a finite end by that logic. Because the idea is reincarnation, the cycle of rebirth between you go to the Soul Society, blah, blah, blah. Regardless of Soul Reapers and such, you go through the 5 stages and you come back to Earth as a new person. That's what that means. It's a never-ending cycle. It's like the rain. People are worried about, the oceans drying up and such, and though I'm sure there are more qualified people than me to talk about that, as far as I was aware, so far, as long as there is water, and as long as the water system exists, water will evaporate into the sky, the clouds will manifest it, and rain will happen. And thus, we have the water cycle. And it will never end. In this way, souls are the same idea. The Quincy want to stop that at part 2, at step 2. That's a big problem, because that is not an answer. Though they are vindictive towards the Hollows, as we understood in 2 episodes ago, it's not something that I can totally agree with. I am totally on the Soul Reaper side, and even Uryu says the same thing. You know what? I actually kind of agree with the Soul Reapers in that 200-year-old thing, because the Soul Reapers themselves decided after multiple talks with the Quincy, and the Quincy wouldn't relent. The Quincy are the bad guys in this. They really are. Because instead of, like, I'm sure at some point, someone among the Soul Reapers said, look, you can capture them, you can detain them and stuff, but let us commit conso on them. Let us destroy them. You can build huge prisons for these things. Capture them, what have you. Beat them to death, we don't care. But, we care about the death part. Just don't kill them. We will come along and we can probably do something like that. I'm not sure that actually happened, but I'm sure someone suggested something similar, and the Quincy basically said, no, we're not doing that. Now, Soken, Uryu's grandfather, was a visionary. He tried to find ways where the Quincy's were a necessity, where the Quincy's could help the Soul Reapers and such. But at this point, after 200 years, after exterminating them, after bringing them to near extinction, Soul Reapers wanted nothing to do with it. And that's the fault of the Soul Reapers. So we had a fault on the Quincy's initially. Now we have the fault on the Soul Reapers' part for not listening to Soken. But of course, the voice of one does not make the voice of the many. We know that. Human government and society will teach you that easy as pie. So, all this boils down is to that Soken wanted to work with Soul Reapers. And Ichigo brings that up to Uryu, and they end up working together to fight against Hollows. Now, it's of course, and Ichigo brings this up. He says, I don't agree with your methods, bringing this up for some stupid duel you and I could have just fought. He brings this up at least twice in this episode, saying you endangered people for a stupid duel, for pride, for what have you. That's just dumb. You and I should duke it out, but right now, let's fight back to back like your sensei wanted, and we'll fight. So they fight the Hollows, and in the end, Urahara's group shows up, and they take care of the small fry, and Urahara, of course, stands back and says, Menos Grande's here. Yeah, Ichigo, might want to go deal with that anytime now. And that, Urahara has such faith, because, he knows the lineage. He knows, and he can sense better than Rukia. He knows what Ichigo's power is capable of. Uryu has this idea of it by touching his sword, and his bow grows really big, and then he compares it to a faucet running water, all that such. But at the end of the day, the Menos Grande shows up, and Ichigo is the one to actually do damage to the Menos Grande. He doesn't kill it. He does decent damage to it. He unleashes his first, what I would consider his first Getsuga Tensho, releasing his spiritual pressure into a sword slash beam, sort of idea. First Getsuga Tensho. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's basically the episode. Urahara being the mastermind. There's a method to my madness. He even says that in the English dub. Don't worry about it, Rukia. There's a method to my madness sort of idea. So, good episode. I didn't think the Shinigami arc lasted this long. But clearly we have a couple more episodes to go until it's done. And then we'll enter the Soul Society arc. That'll be pretty cool. I really like this episode. What did you guys think? Like, comment, and subscribe as always. Always really appreciated. It's been Griever with your Bleach episode review. See you back here next time. See ya.